Is it true? Sometimes you can just point blank ask yourself, is that true? Do you really believe that? I don't know. You put on a crop top and you're like, I can't wear a crop top. I'm too fat. Is that true? Is it true that you are the one person on this whole wide earth who's too fat to wear a crop top? You're like, no, I guess that's bullshit. Wear the crop top. Hey, sunshine. Welcome back to the Neurodivergent Creative Podcast. I am Caitlin Liz Fisher, your illustrious host. I'm going with illustrious. It feels good today. Today, I want to talk about methods to notice and reframe self-sabotaging beliefs. So we talked a little bit about, I struggle to say negative beliefs, but I mean, most people would consider them negative beliefs. I don't like assigning morality to beliefs. I think that they come up and then we can be like, yes, I want this or I don't want this. So to me, a thought is like a snack. You go to a party and somebody says, would you like some snacks? And you say, what do you got? And if they offer you a bowl of chips labeled, you are a bad artist, you don't have to eat that. You can say, do you have any other chips? And then if they offer you different chips that say you are enough just as you are, you eat those chips. Those are the good chips. Those are the chips for you. It's snacks. You do not have to eat every snack that is offered to you. You can be like, that one looks gross. That one looks tasty. I will eat it. Same with thoughts. We kind of grow up thinking like, well, the things that we believe are beliefs and they're good and I stand by them. They're beliefs. You can change those at any time. Typically, when presented with alternate evidence that is different from what you thought was the truth, right? If you go around and you're like, pineapple on pizza is gross because your dad hates it, and so you never got pineapple on pizza, and you just have this deeply held belief because your dad was so into his belief that pineapple is bad on pizza. And then somebody's like, have you ever tried it? And you're like, well, actually, no. And then you try it, and you get to make your own decision in that moment. And your decision could be, no, I was correct. This is bad. Or it could be, holy crap, I actually like this. I love pineapple on pizza. The same is true with a lot of beliefs, especially self-shit-talky beliefs. I'm a bad artist. Why am I even doing this? Who let me write a book? That was mine for like a whole year as I was writing a book. I was like, why did they do this? Why did they trust me to follow through with this thing that I said I would write? It was scary, y'all. It was scary. It was scary times. I had to follow through on a project and there was a deadline and people needed me. And it was rough. We can talk about that another time. But right now, I want to talk about your brain a little bit. So when we meet some information and learn it and internalize it and make it sort of a go-to thing, which our brains are designed to do, right? You need to categorize information quickly. You need to know, okay, if the red berries are poisonous and the orange berries are delicious, you need to be able to make that decision very fast so that you do not eat poison berries. Our brains do not know. Our brains do not know that it is 2023 and we can kind of just go to the store and buy berries and there shouldn't be any poison berries at the store. Anyway, your brain is designed to be like filtering information all the time to keep you from dying, basically. So when it gets feedback like, you're not a very good artist, and you have a nervous system response that feels threatened by that because you put a lot of work into something and it received criticism without any constructive support at all to help you refine whatever they're criticizing. Maybe your art was bad. Maybe it wasn't. What is bad art? If it makes you happy and it's creative, then like you're doing great. Creative expression is a human need. You're awesome. You're doing enough. But that's going to feel like danger to your brain. And so then anytime you try to do art after that, your brain's going to be like, no, poison berries. The sketchbook, poison berries. Pencils, poison berries. Paint, poison berries. All of it is poison berries. That builds a neural pathway in your brain. They get well worn as you are learning new stuff in your life. Like in childhood, we're learning new things. You're making all sorts of like neural connections and stuff. Things that are sort of hit over and over again, like repetitive things that you learn multiple times. Those are now very easy to access for your brain, like driving. A lot of people can drive without really thinking about it. Like I get in a very heavy, very dangerous machine and I just drive it around and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just going to go wherever I want in this giant machine that I learned how to drive when I was a teenager. It's weird when you think about it. But driving is an example of a very well-worn neural pathway. We know what to do. We know the buttons to push. We know how to turn the blinkers on, all that stuff. We know how to operate it. If you were to go to the UK, where the steering wheel is on the opposite side of the car and you drive on the opposite side of the road, it's going to feel fucked up because that is not the neural pathway. This is a new neural pathway that's close but different, and it'll take you a minute to get used to it. And then eventually sort of you can settle in. I haven't driven in the UK. I'm assuming that you figure it out and you're like, oh, okay, yeah. So when I'm here, I can go left on red because at home I can go right on red. It's opposite world. Whatever. You figure it out. But it is uncomfortable in your brain for a minute as you're like, oh, no, don't go down that pathway. We're over here in this country now and we have to drive on this side of the road. Okay, great example. Everybody's with me? Cool. So if you have been driving the car that is I am a bad artist for like 20 years and you try to switch to I am a good artist, that is going to feel very difficult and uncomfortable and unbelievable. And so you can't always just change it. If we could just change stuff, nobody would have any problems ever. You ever say something like, oh, I'm just feeling like kind of sad today. Like I'm thinking about some fucking sad thing. And people are like, oh, well, just, feel better. Cheer up. Don't be depressed. And you're like, I'm cured. Oh my God. No, you can't. No, can't do it. There would be like no industries at all if we could just say something and then make it true. What we have to do when working with our thoughts is kind of unpack it a little bit for those neural pathways. Like let's practice going a little bit out of the comfort zone at a time. So if you're going from, I am a bad, shitty artist, I'm going to die in a gutter. It's really hard to be like, I am a famous artist. I have gallery installations at museums across the world. Like that's a lovely positive affirmation and a great vision to have. But it's hard to believe at the beginning of this process. And so I'm going to start talking about these tools, exercises, thought experiments that you can use to start examining the negative beliefs that you have and start to build up more supportive beliefs. So number one is my favorite. It's look for evidence. This is like being a lawyer. Like you have been sued by your negative thought and your job is to find all of the evidence to the contrary, right? So you're a bad artist. Okay, cool. I got this giant office box full of documentation. Let's go through it. And so you pull out a picture that you drew in second grade that won an award at school. You're like, okay, that's evidence. I'm not a bad artist. Somebody who you love asked you to do a painting for their home and it sits on their mantle. Oh shit, that's another piece of evidence that I am not a bad artist. So on and so forth until you have a list of evidence that you could present to a court of your brain and be like, Your Honor, here's the evidence. My client is not a bad artist. And then you're like, well, shit. Okay, I guess I'm not a bad artist. So what feels as true, but is more positive and supportive? This could be something like, I'm learning to love my art. Because that's true, right? If you're in this process, if you're here listening to me talk, you're probably in the process of learning to love your creativity, learning to reconnect with it, learning to make space for it and appreciate it as a neurodivergent person for whom the general advice about like, just make time for your hobbies does not apply because our brains do not go like that. So look for the evidence. Be a lawyer. I don't know how you feel about lawyers. Maybe positive, maybe negative, maybe neutral. That's how thoughts work. Positive, negative, or neutral. That's great. So if you go around even like this and all lawyers are terrible people, okay, well, I have several friends who are lawyers and I know that they're actually very nice people. So I know that your generalization is not actually true of every single individual lawyer. Therefore, maybe you make a bad art sometimes. Here's a great thought for you to practice like that. Bad art is how you make good art. You can't get good at a creative skill without sucking a little bit first, or sucking a lot. Maybe you are terrible at it. I am not very good at the ukulele, but I'm trying. Some things you're going to be more like inherently talented at right out of the gate. Like I've always been a pretty good singer, but I have a belief that I'm working on changing that I can't make my two hands do two different things at the same time. Ukulele, you got to like touch the frets and stuff, and then you're strumming over here like this. And I have this belief that like, no, I can't do that. I can't coordinate those activities. I can play Animal Crossing with two Joy-Cons. Therefore, I can play an instrument, right? That's evidence. That's like, oh, have I ever in my goddamn life done two different things with my two different hands? Yes, including gay sex, which is great. You should try it. Thing number 2, is it true? This is related to look for evidence, but sometimes you can just point blank ask yourself, is that true? Do you really believe that? So like, la la la, and then, I don't know, you put on a crop top and you're like, I can't wear a crop top, I'm too fat. Is that true? Is it true that you are the one person on this whole wide earth who's too fat to wear a crop top? You're like, no, I guess that's bullshit. Wear the crop top. Thing number 3, a brag book. This is a fun activity if you like crafts. Literally get a notebook and fill it with all of your accomplishments. This accomplishment could be like, I saved a worm from the sidewalk when I was in high school. That is an accomplishment. It made you feel good inside. Fill the book with positive things about you as a person. It can be creative stuff. You can be like, this is my creativity brag book. When I have an office job, I used to keep like a folder in my work email, and I would call it like smile file or something. And anytime I got an email that like praised me for doing a really good job on a project or something, or saying like, really good work running that meeting, blah, 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 I'll drag it up to the smile file. This is my evidence folder. The next time somebody is like, what does Kaylin even do here? I have all of this. I have my brag book. I'm like, I'm amazing. What do you do? Brag book. It's magic. Number 4 is your resilience timeline. So this is another craft that I love. You can make it a big zigzaggy maze, or you can just make it a straight line, but make a timeline of your life, the hard things that you have been through, the challenges that you have been through, creatively or otherwise. Like in mine, my cat's death is on there. That was in 2021, right? So like we're recent. My parents' divorce is also on there. That was in like 1997. So my whole life is here, including bad stuff that I have survived. And also go through and put in your really proud achievements. You can consult your brag book for this. You now have a brag book that is backed up by evidence and the fact that these things are true. So my resilience timeline looks like I'm born, made a newspaper. So when I was a kid, I would take notebook paper and a blue crayon and draw the shape of our county, which looks like a little like stair step. It's Medina County in Ohio, if you want to go look at it. I'm 5 years old at this point, and I drew like a little sunshine for the weather, and I would just write a little fake newspaper. Creative accomplishment. Very adorable. Go me. I wrote a story in first grade. All this kind of stuff. Graduated college in 3 years. That's an accomplishment. I'm really proud of that. Got married, got divorced, got married again, got divorced again. These go on the timeline. Got a book deal. Started voice lessons. It's very interesting. Like after I had a very, very bad 2018, and since then I have just been investing time, money, and focus and energy in things that I want to do for me. And I'm a lot happier now. So I see a voice teacher weekly, and I'm taking voice lessons. I just signed up for the YMCA, and I'm going to take water aerobics. And I don't care that water aerobics is for old people because I'm old people now. I don't care. I have fibromyalgia. I want to hang out with old ladies in the pool and just gab about stuff because I don't know. I can't hang out with people my own age. I guess I'm allergic. That's a lie. The truth is that I can't tell what people are my age or not, and so it doesn't matter anymore. I assume everyone is my age, and then I find out that I'm hanging out with 25-year-olds, and I run away into the woods. because they say things like, I was born in 1997 and I can't handle it. Thing number 5 to help you reframe your beliefs: be your own best friend. If you would not say it to your best friend's face and really mean it, you don't get to say it about yourself either. Boom. Thing number 6, look backwards. So go with me, if you will. Envision your future self who has achieved whatever the dreams are. Look back to this moment. What do you have to believe today in order to become that person? Because it's probably not, I'm bad at this. It's probably something more supportive, like I'm learning to get good at this, or I'm willing to be bad at this before I get good at this, or I'm just having fun. Wouldn't that be nice? Just take the pressure off stuff and just do it to have fun. I learned to crochet. I can't do it very well. I made a very shitty rectangle. It was more of a kind of rhombus maybe, or a trapezoid. And my brain was just like, you're done. You did it. You crocheted. And so like, I never had to learn how to be any better at it because I did it once, tried it, was like, cool. I know basically kind of how to crochet, and that will never be a career or long-term hobby of mine because I didn't super love it. Awesome. I'm allowed to just let that go. So many people are like, no, if I start a hobby, I have to commit to the hobby. I must wake up and dream of the hobby. I guess you don't wake up and dream. You go to sleep and dream. And then you wake up and you run to the hobby. And it's like, no, you can just try something and be like, oh, that wasn't for me. Do you know what that does? Opens up a lot of time, energy, and space for you to find the thing that lights you up. Hooray. Good for you. I'm proud of you. Thing number 7 is give your imposter a name. So I call my eating disorder Carl because it sounds hilarious when I say something like, Carl says I can only eat 2 eggs. If I said that out loud in front of people, they'd be like, who's Carl? And can I talk to him? I just want to talk. I just want to talk to them because that's ridiculous. So your imposter has a silly name. And another great one for this is imagining that it's Donald Trump. So like, can you imagine Donald Trump's voice being like, you shouldn't be wearing shorts that short. Like, I'm going to wear them shorter now, Donnie. Like, get out of my face. So making it kind of silly can make it easier to maybe fight back. Or it can also help you identify whose voice it actually is who is telling you mean things. Like sometimes my mom's in here saying mean stuff. Sometimes a teacher might be in there or a boss. I've had some bosses that were not great. And I've had some bosses who were so great. Anyway, the next thing is called compare and contrast. When you catch yourself comparing, because we're visual creatures, we're always taking stock of what is next to us and assessing how it is similar or different, right? It's how we know the poison berries from the good berries. So we compare them. But you might be comparing yourself to another artist or another musician or another mom, whoever you're comparing to. Make sure that it's actually apples to apples, because it could be very easy to be like, well, I have the same 24 hours a day as Beyonce. No, you don't. Beyonce has nannies and assistants and probably a driver. Like, Beyonce does not have to factor in parking time. Beyonce does not need to wait for the bus. So if you are comparing yourself to somebody who maybe has access to childcare and you don't have access to childcare, you're going to have 2 different amounts of time, focus, and energy to spend on your creative pursuits. So make sure that when you are comparing and contrasting yourself to other people, that you actually get clear. This would be a great place to go look for evidence and ask, is that true? So if you're like, well, why can't I do the exact same thing as Brenda over here? Well, is it true that you and Brenda have the exact same situation and scenario unfolding? Probably not. That's very unlikely. Therefore, take the pressure off. Okay? Love you. You're doing great. And then finally, let's give up perfectionism. I know it's a big ask, especially as like the finale, right? I'm like, ooh, and now to blow your mind, don't be a perfectionist. I know. But practicing the idea that done is better than perfect. Done is better than perfect. Done is better than perfect. Hooray. Unless you are like testing safety things that have a very, very tiny threshold of margin of error, like as long as you can half-ass it, you're probably okay. If you design rockets, that was not advice for you. You should make sure that you are in compliance. But when it comes to things like art, especially like a rough draft, so many writers, myself included, we were always able to like just final draft it and turn it in, and get an A on basically what was a first draft, because we're able that's probably like a neurodivergent thing, right? Where we're like, nah, I know exactly what you want and how to say it. So I'm just going to knit this together and turn it in for you. Anyway, done's better than perfect. So I'm going to wrap this up and let you just have this. It's going to be amazing. Please tell me in the comments or DM me on the gram or the Facebook, or I'm on Threads now. Is anybody else on Threads? Are we so excited? I'm excited for Elon Musk to have a fucking meltdown. It's giving me life. Okay. Love you guys. I was going to say you're perfect, but you're done, which is better than perfect.